There is a drawer somewhere in the world that holds more than one passport, not because its owner is confused about who they are, and not because they travel often, but because at a certain altitude of wealth, citizenship is no longer only identity. It is insurance, it is leverage, it is optionality. And that may be one of the clearest psychological divides of the modern world. For some people, borders are walls. For others, they are variables. For most of history, citizenship was treated as inheritance. You were born into a nation, shaped by its laws, and bound to its future. But wealth has a way of changing the meaning of fixed things. A home becomes a base, a city becomes a platform, a legal system becomes a jurisdictional preference, and eventually, even a passport stops feeling like belonging and starts behaving like an asset. Not always to be used, but to be held. This is the real story behind modern investor migration. Not fantasy, not conspiracy. Structure. Major residency by investment programs still exist in parts of Europe and beyond. But even Europe has begun drawing a line at the outright sale of citizenship itself. In 2025, the EU's top court ruled that Malta's investor citizenship scheme violated EU law, saying union citizenship cannot simply be the result of a commercial transaction. That distinction matters because the new affluent ideal is becoming more sophisticated than the old phrase golden passport suggests. What the wealthy increasingly want is not always a dramatic escape, it is a menu of legal positions. A residence permit in one country, tax exposure in another, business access somewhere else, education options for children in a fourth, a sovereign portfolio. And this is not only a story about oligarchs, sheikhs, or stateless billionaires. Henley & Partners, an investment migration advisory firm, projected a record 142,000 millionaires would relocate internationally in 2025, and said Americans had become its largest applicant group for investment migration programs, with U.S. applications already running well above the prior year by the end of the third quarter. That is firm data, not government data. But even as a directional signal, it is revealing. Why? Because affluent psychology does not wait for collapse. It responds to volatility early. It hedges, it duplicates, it diversifies. And once a person becomes wealthy enough to think this way, nationality begins to change character. It stops being purely emotional. It becomes operational. The contradiction is especially visible in the United States. At the same time that the Trump administration has expanded immigration enforcement, with broader detention powers, more planned workplace raids, and a much larger detention build-out, it also created and then launched a premium Gold Card track for wealthy applicants able to make a seven-figure financial contribution. That is the deeper TAI signal. The modern border is not disappearing, it is separating into tiers. Restriction for some, frictionless processing for others. This is not just immigration policy, it is class architecture. And like most forms of luxury, its highest expression is not display, it is insulation. The ability to decide, quietly, that one jurisdiction is no longer optimal and to already have another waiting. But there is a hidden cost, because every system of extreme optionality slowly asks the same question. If home is always negotiable, what exactly are you loyal to? If citizenship becomes strategy, what happens to belonging? If every nation is partly a tool, where does attachment still live? That may be the final irony of citizen arbitrage. The more completely wealth frees a person from geography, the more difficult it can become to know where they psychologically reside at all. In the old world, citizenship told you where you came from. In the new one, it may tell you how you manage risk. And that is the shift worth watching. Because when identity becomes infrastructure, wealth is no longer just buying access. It is buying distance from constraint itself. And in the 21st century, that may be the most luxurious asset of all. This is the Affluence Index, where the psychology of prosperity is decoded for intentional living.